Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a multi-county police chase here in eastern Kentucky leads to an escaped western Kentucky inmate being back behind bars.
And one Floyd County couple is accused of abusing foster children left in their care. We talked with Kentucky State Police about the accusations and the evidence.
Then we go to Pulaski County, where the family of a woman who went missing nearly 30 years ago finally has a chance to find some answers and closure.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. The time is 5:32 on February 26th. I'm Madison Pergram.
And I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning into Mountain News This Morning on to this Wednesday.
On this Wednesday, it's almost the end of February. The month has flown by. I feel like, do you feel like it's flown by?
Yeah, it helps that it's normally a shorter month, but it's thrown off a little bit by a leap year. So we got 29 days. But yeah, February's went by pretty quickly.
Okay, well, let's go to Brandon Robinson, because Brandon, we're going to finish out February maybe with a little bit of snow.
A little bit of everything. Kitchen sink being thrown at us this week, and we're going to continue to watch those trends and keep you updated on them. This morning, though, a drier trend as we look at the satellite and radar loop. Not much to show you except for maybe a few clouds this morning. All the moisture still off to our west. Visibility a little bit rough, though, so some patchy, dense fog in spots like Moorhead and Monticello this morning. Probably some others, too. I didn't have to see much on my drive in through about 3 counties there, but again, just be careful as you take your trip across the region this morning. 50 Jackson, 49 Prestonsburg, 47 Pikeville, Hazard, and Middlesboro. That's some of the warmer spots in the region. Everybody in the low to mid 40s for the most part there. Those upper 40s is mentioned there. We see that's a big difference from yesterday. Remember, we were several degrees warmer yesterday morning than this time the day before, but to this morning we were several degrees colder than we were this time yesterday morning. Your day planner today, again, we'll reach our high right around 10:30 this morning, and then we'll start to drop as the cold front and the rain works its way into the region. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a little bit. Will?
All righty, Brandon. Thank you, sir. Well, a police chase in Letcher County reached speeds of 70 miles per hour Monday. This is Mark Bentley. Police say they saw him pull into the Isom Double Quick with no seatbelt on and checked his registration, which they learned had expired. When they tried to pull him over on Highway 15, police say Bentley took off down Highway 7. He passed several other cars in a double yellow line zone. Bentley eventually lost control and slid into a ditch. Police say he ran away from the scene but was quickly arrested. He was taken to the Letcher County Detention Center.
And a multi-county police chase in Floyd County ended with the capture of an escaped inmate from western Kentucky. Daniel Bell escaped from a work release program in McCracken County on Sunday. He is originally from Johnson County, more than 370 miles away.
The chase started yesterday near Prestonsburg and ended in Paintsville. WYMT's Emily Bennett talked with officials who are trying to connect all the dots.
One complaint led police to this double quick. Pulling up behind this car where 3 people were arguing.
2 of the occupants jumped out of the vehicle and said that the third person in the vehicle was pointing a gun at them.
Deputies identified the third person as Daniel Bell, an escaped inmate from McCracken County.
He identified himself as a different Daniel, not Daniel Bell, but Daniel something. So the names didn't match.
Bell sped away.
The speeds had varied from 100 miles an hour down to 30 or 40.
Swerving around stop strips, leading police on a 30-mile chase.
He did try several times to ram us. He was obviously in the wrong lane at several times throughout the pursuit, endangering other people.
When he was stopped 30 minutes later, they found multiple stolen guns, along with several sets of car keys, drugs, and money. All hidden in the car.
$4,000 probably is just from doing numbers in my head from what I hear the guys talking about what they found in certain places.
One of the men inside the vehicle before the chase is Jared Hall, a man with a long drug history in Floyd County.
When I left, they were trying to investigate and see who's tied to what.
Trying to piece together what happened after Bell escaped Sunday night.
We're now working with them, McCracken County, 250, 300 miles away probably, trying to get information back and forth to file more charges.
A list of charges that will keep on growing.
That was Emily Bennett, of course. Now, Sheriff Hunt says Bell will be facing several wanton endangerment charges, along with stolen property and drug charges. He does expect more charges to be filed after talking with McCracken County officials.
And this all comes after thousands of dollars worth of stolen merchandise was found in Floyd County. Investigators told us many of those stolen items were from the Pink Elephant Gun and Pawn Shop in Prestonsburg. That include the guns found with Bell. Deputies say security cameras at the business caught Billy Hall and Charles Hall in the act. They face receiving stolen property among other charges. Investigators also found stolen motorcycles, chainsaws, and a stolen pickup truck.
In Floyd County, another delay in the trial of two men charged in a murder case. In 2014, police say Floyd Jr. Sexton and John Tate Maggard worked together to kill Bill Russell. Sexton faces a murder charge. Police believe he was the gunman. Maggard faces complicity charges. Police also charged Jennifer Jernigan in the case. A new trial date is not set.
Staying in Floyd County, a husband and wife are facing child abuse charges. According to an indictment, police charged Thomas Stacy Jr. with criminal abuse and sexual abuse charges, while his wife Jennifer is facing criminal abuse charges. The crimes are said to have happened from 2008 to January of this year on foster children in their care. Kentucky State Police say the amount of evidence led them to a quicker case than normal, while the community near Community Free Will Baptist Church, where Stacy is said to pastor, is in shock.
It don't matter what age. When you adopt a little child like that, they don't ask to be treated that way. They want love, and he definitely didn't give them love.
Both Thomas and Jennifer worked for Mountain Comprehensive Care. Officials there say the two were fired as soon as the indictments came down.
In Greenup County, a man is facing several rape charges. State police began investigating Mark Miller in December. They say a 16-year-old was forced into a relationship at the age of 11. A grand jury indicted him last week. Police arrested him after a standoff. He is charged with rape and sexual abuse.
And one Tennessee man is behind bars after police say he shot into an occupied home.
WYMT's Hannah Reynolds talked to Knox County Sheriff Mike Smith, who says it was a uniquely dangerous situation.
On any given day, Dixon Drive is typically a peaceful place, except for Friday.
It was a domestic type altercation inside the residence and became violent.
Knox County Sheriff Mike Smith says that 911 call led them to Dixon Drive and Justin Marlowe.
Became violent and fired the shots inside the residence, and obviously with that many people in the residence, it's very dangerous that someone could have got hit.
6 people, 3 of them children, had their lives put in danger, but the violence did not end there.
And before leaving the residence, he shot a tire on a parked vehicle at the residence in the driveway, and then traveled approximately 3 miles down the roadway, and then wrecked a vehicle that he took from that residence.
That same truck stolen out of Tennessee, which ultimately landed Marlowe in cuffs. Marlowe was charged with 6 counts of wanton endangerment, among several other charges. So we called down to the Knox County Jail, where we got the green light to interview Marlowe to see what he had to say about that night. However, by the time I got here, he declined my interview. In Knox County, Hannah Reynolds, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, thankfully, no one was hurt by any of the shots or the wreck.
And a 25-year-old cold case finally has a break. Christy Witcher went missing in Nancy, Kentucky during the summer of 1993. Her body was found in 1995, but police could not identify the remains until this year, bringing her family closer to answers. And why now? Well, Detective Corey Cundiff says this case and others like it are being solved thanks to advancements in DNA matching and detection.
Family's DNA was compared to the remains that we have, and it came up as a positive match.
Cundiff says that match is a pretty close 1 in 10 million. While the investigation is still ongoing, Cundiff says Witcher was most likely the victim of a homicide.
The investigation into a missing Scott County mother saw some big developments yesterday. Georgetown police say a body found in a storage facility in Richmond is believed to be Sheena Baxter. She's been missing since Valentine's Day. Yesterday, Baxter's ex-boyfriend was charged with her murder before she was ever found. Officers say they had overwhelming evidence that a homicide had occurred.
I don't feel at all that we need a body other than obviously for the family, but for the case, that's not a concern for us.
A few hours after giving that interview, a body was found wrapped in plastic at a storage facility just down the road from where Hicks lives. The Madison County coroner says the body is being taken to the state medical examiner's office in Frankfort for an autopsy scheduled for today.
And it's another go-around with a bill supporters say will create a crime victim bill of rights. Marsy's law was signed into law 2 years ago and even ratified in a constitutional amendment.
But the state's highest court struck it down. WIMT's Phil Pendleton was in Frankfort and breaks down the debate in the state Senate.
Marsy's law is named after a California case out of concern victims of crime were not being made aware of judicial proceedings or when convicted criminals were released. Now there's a movement to establish a crime victims bill of rights in Kentucky.
But those victims will have a voice that is protected in our Constitution, and they deserve that.
Westerfield says victims of crime should have the right to be present at proceedings and to know what's going on with people accused of crimes during all of the judicial process. But some lawmakers disagree on how all of this is being done or proposed.
Constitutional amendment quite simply puts the Constitution in conflict with itself.
But the Senate approved the amendment 31-6. Senator Reggie Thomas said his vote was in honor of Anita Franklin, whose son was murdered in Lexington.
She was a staunch and very active victim rights advocate in Lexington.
Marsy's law was passed by the General Assembly 2 years ago and signed into law by the governor. And then voters overwhelmingly approved this measure in a question on their ballots. But it was struck down by a Supreme Court decision. So what's to stop that from happening this year?
The fix to what was previously addressed by the Supreme Court was adding the entire amendment as part of the ballot question.
Some say this law is simply not needed.
People have a role in the justice system, but yet defer to the duly elected judges and prosecutors who we elect to make these decisions.
The bill now goes to the House. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WIMT Mountain News.
The bill also includes a provision that would require victims of crime to be notified if a person is pardoned or has his or her sentence commuted by a governor.
And later on Mountain News this morning, the recipient to the Hot Pocket sandwich fortune will spend time behind bars for her role in the college admissions scandal.
Chances for rain, snow, and colder temperatures are all in the forecast as we wrap up February. Will March come in like a lion or a lamb? The answer in about 3 minutes.